Doctor Who The Five Doctors, the 20th anniversary special and the 14th story of the 5th Doctor is written by Terence Dix and starring Peter Davison, John Pertwee, Patrick Troughton, Richard Hundle, Janet Fielding, Mark Strickson, Carol Ann Ford, Nicholas Courtney, Elizabeth Sladen, and also starring William Hartnell, Tom Baker and Lala Ward, since I think it's fair to say their names as well. So originally this story was going to be called The Six Doctors and would have been written by Robert Holmes. It would have had Cybermen kidnapping 5 doctors and becoming Cyberlords. The twist would have been the first Doctor and Susan Foreman to be android imposters, the former being the 6th Doctor of the title and the 2nd Doctor of Save the Day, but that was dropped. But that plot was kind of reused for the 2 Doctors, so they hired Terence Dix to write the story. So the story was prepared for 4 parts, ending it with Sarah Jane falling off the slope, Cybermen bombing the TARDIS with Susan and Tolo watching, and the Master appearing behind the first Doctor and Tegan, and became 90-minute feature length. There were plans that some had to change because of casts. Sadly, William Hartnell already passed away in 1975, so he got replaced by Richard Hundle. I think he did a great job. I like it before the title sequence played when they used the footage from the Dalek invasion of Earth where William Hartnell says, "One day I shall be back." And I think that's respectful. It shows us that role actually belongs to him.
One day I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back.
Tom Baker didn't want to be in the 5 Doctors, so they used a clip of him from, at the time, unfinished episode, Sharda, where he's paddling the boat and Romana telling him how much she likes autumn. I heard Tom later regretted he wasn't keen to be on screen with more than 1 Doctors, which, fair enough, but at the same time it is a shame that he's not in it. So the Doctors and Companions combinations were planned. First Doctor with Susan Foreman, and 5th Doctor obviously with Tegan Jovanka and Tolo. Originally there would have been the 2nd Doctor with Jamie McCrimmon, 3rd Doctor with the Brigadier, and 4th Doctor with Sarah Jane Smith. But Fraser Hines was only available for cameo as he's busy filming Emmerdale, but got changed with 2nd Doctor pairing up with Victoria Waterfield, then having the 2nd Doctor and the Brigadier meeting the Phantom version of Zoe and Victoria, but Deborah Watson was unavailable, so it got changed to the 2nd Doctor and Brigadier meeting the Phantom version of Jamie and Zoe. John Levine was originally going to return as Sergeant Benton, and in the script it said that he would not recognise the 2nd Doctor, so Levine turned down because it was unfaithful to the character, which I do agree with him. The show is co-production with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation at the time, but the team weren't aware. So John Nathan Turner suggested Waris Hussein, who directed the first story, An Unearthly Child, but Waris was in America so he couldn't do it. So Nathan Turner chose Douglas Camfield, but was too ill with the heart disease and sadly passed away in 1984. So it went to Peter Moffat. So yeah, like I said, it's great that they used a clip of William Hartnell before the credits roll. So after a little tour around the Death Zone on Gallifrey, at the Eye of Iron, Tolo sits down peacefully doodling while the Doctor wipes his console, and this is the first time you see this version of the interior, and they use it for the rest of the classic series until the TV movie. I think it's a really nice TARDIS interior design. So the Doctor and Tegan went out and seen Tolo drawing and decided to take a break. Why not? Meanwhile, someone on Gallifrey is using Time Scoop. I know the effects on Special Edition are different. The 5 Doctors Special Edition was released in 1995 as a VHS and DVD in 1999 with updated effects. Like, Time Scoop went from a 2D black triangle to 3D upside down whirlwind-like effect, Dalek lasers, and the checkerboard floor lightning. There's also extended scenes, stereo soundtrack, and different clips from Sharda, which are used for the 4th Doctor Tom Baker scenes.
So Newton invented punting?
Oh yes. There was no limit to Isaac's genius.
The original version shows Romana didn't get trapped.
Doctor!
Yes.
Shh! Hurry!
Coming.
The 1995 edition later became included as part of the 2-disc 25th Anniversary Edition DVD set in 2008 with the original version. on September 2023, a 40th anniversary edition of The Five Doctors, as part of Doctor Who The Collection Season 20, got released, where they reused the effects pretty much from the original but more updated.
Together, it seems.
I have the 1995 version on my DVD, which is where I normally watch it from. So anyway, the time scoop takes the first Doctor away, while the fifth Doctor is feeling unwell because his past selves are taken. The second Doctor arrives at Unit HQ to see Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, who's retiring and replaced by Colonel Crichton, played by David Saville, who previously played Lieutenant Carstairs in the War Games, Troughton's final regular story. The bit where Sergeant tried to grab the second Doctor but took his furry coat off him and he's like, "Oh thank you," was pretty funny. So after the second Doctor and Brigadier takes a walk, they get captured by a time scoop.
Come on, run!
Doctor, I'm too old for this sort of thing.
The third Doctor, driving his motor car called Bessie, gets captured by a time scoop as well. The way he said "great balls of fire" and tried to get away from it is pretty badass. The way John Pertwee played it.
Great balls of fire.
K9 Mark III tries to warn Sarah Jane Smith that she needs to stay at home because there's danger, but she doesn't listen, so she walks off to the bus stop and gets taken by a time scoop. The fourth Doctor and Romana, as they're sailing away, gets taken as well, but they're trapped in the vortex. So as the fifth Doctor passed out, Lord President Barusa, Chancellor Flavia and Castellan are having a meeting on Gallifrey and wanting the Master's help to rescue the Doctor. The first Doctor finds himself in the Halls of Mirrors and reunites with his granddaughter Susan. The shadow of the Dalek appearing was pretty scary, and it was intense when the first Doctor and Susan were getting chased by a Dalek. So by the time they reach the dead ends, they push the Dalek into the corner and gets backfired by its laser and blown up. The mutant inside it looked pretty gross, which is nicely done. They realise they're on Gallifrey in the Death Zone, as everyone who got taken by a time scoop did, apart from the fourth Doctor and Romana. Sarah Jane Smith fell down the cliff and gets rescued by the third Doctor. Originally, Sarah Jane would have got attacked by the Autons and rescued by the third Doctor. They didn't have enough budget, so it got changed to Sarah Jane falling off the cliff. Elizabeth Sladen wished she hadn't filmed that because she thought it didn't look good. First Doctor and Susan has found the TARDIS and went inside it, and they meet Tegan, Turlough and the fifth Doctor. As the Master appeared in the Death Zone and sees a skeleton and said one of his predecessors, I assume he's talking about his crispy version from the Deadly Assassins. While Tegan, Turlough and Susan are enjoying their food, the first and fifth Doctor are discussing how to get inside the tomb of Rassilon. So the third Doctor and Sarah Jane meets the Master. The third Doctor took the seal of High Council and drove as the energy bolts hit in the ground, and shame it got Bessie. But I'm sure they'll fix it somehow. The second Doctor is thinking that Rassilon brought them on Gallifrey. As he mentions to Brigadier, before Rassilon's time, the Time Lords often misuse the technology and kidnap a lot of species for games, which is pretty interesting. So the fifth Doctor, Susan and Tegan went up the hill and met up with the Master. Cybermen arrived, so they ran.
Halt! Or you will be destroyed!
But after a Cyberman used his blaster, the Master fell unconscious. So the fifth Doctor picks the teleport device and disappearing off.
Sorry, mustache.
And Susan tripped over and dislocated her ankle. Apparently Caroline Ford wasn't happy about this scene. So the fifth Doctor sees Barusa, Flavia and Castellan in the conference room, discovering that Castellan has hidden black scrolls of Rassilon. So the security took him for mind probe, but shot him to death as he tried to escape. So we get an iconic line from the first Doctor, kindly refrain from addressing me as Doc. And also, I'm the Doctor, the original, he might say. And Richard Hundle seems to enjoy his pineapple. Something about that scene where it is a brilliant moment. So the first Doctor and Tegan found a bell, which is entry coder to open the door, and found a little chessboard and played pitch and pennies. So the Master appeared behind, as the first Doctor didn't recognise him because, well, different face. So the first Doctor and Tegan took cover as the Cybermen arrived. So the Master tricks them to get electrocuted and killed Cyber Leader. So the first Doctor helped Tegan to get across safely. I think the effects in this episode, the original version, is good for its time. I think the 2 updated version looks better. Plus we have DVD Blu-ray box sets where they remastered the effects. The updated effects is a great idea so the modern audience can enjoy and find them more watchable. The music by Peter Hall is fantastic. I think the story is well written. I think the actors playing the Doctors and companions are fantastic. I think Peter Davidson is great as the 5th Doctor. He's good when he's caring, helping others, and his chemistry with his companions. It's a shame that a lot of people disliked him. Like I said, they're all good Doctors. I liked Janet Fielding and Mark Strickson as Tegan Jovanka and Vislor Tolo. Tegan may be fussy at first, but then she became more likeable in season 20 when she loved travelling with the Doctor. It's one of the greatest TARDIS trio, I have to say. They invited William Russell to do a cameo as Ian Chesterton, but he turned it down. Ben Jackson and Polly were going to reappear, but Anika Wells was living in overseas and nowhere to be found. Not sure about Michael Craze though. Joe Grant was originally going to return, but Katie Manning was living in Australia at the time. Ian Marter was going to come back as Harry Sullivan, but Ian was busy working in New Zealand. Louise Jameson wanted to come back as Leela, which doesn't surprise me because the actress told me that at Comic-Con that she would love to come back as Leela, but they couldn't fit her into the story. And Romana was going to reappear as well, which I'm not sure how as she's in E-Space. But given Lala and Tom Baker's relationship didn't work out, and feeling it's best not to work with each other again is understandable if you can't bring yourself to work with your ex again. That's not to say who's bad. It's just one of the things that's happened. As long as they're both happy where they are now, that's the main thing. Moving on. Yeah, it's just one of those things with the cast's availability. Philip Latham, Dinah Sheridan and Paul Jericho did a fantastic job with their role as Barusa, Flavia and Castellan. I think Anthony Ainley as the Master is fantastic. He's so evil and menacing, and he can get Roger Delgado's vibes. The 2nd Doctor and Brigadier goes into the cave as there's something chasing them. So the 2nd Doctor and Brigadier took cover and something was trying to dig them out. So the 2nd Doctor used a galactic glitter to blow it up. And it was the Yeti that chased them, which is nice to bring back for the 5 Doctors. I hope they do it in the modern era. Well, as of time recording, they haven't brought the Yeti back, but I hope they do. The costume hasn't been used since the Web of Fear, and it was in bad condition as it's been in storage for 15 years. So it required dim light and selective camera angles. I haven't even noticed that. The bit where the 2nd Doctor and Brigadier hearing the sound of women screaming is pretty scary.
What was that? We'll go and see.
And it's really intense, so they went to have a look, and it's the illusion of Jamie McCrimmon and Zoe Heriot. Fraser Hines was only available to film that scene. Wendy was pregnant at the time, so the costume was made to hide the bump, which unfortunately was miscarried soon after the filming.
The Time Lords erased your memory of the period you spent with me. So how do you know who we are? Answer!
The 2nd Doctor recalled the memories of Zoe and Jamie's mind of travelling with the Doctor being erased somehow. But similar thing could happen, like happened with the 1st Doctor in Twice Upon a Time, where that time got frozen. So the illusion disappeared off and they kept walking. The 3rd Doctor and Sarah Jane went up the hill and witnessed a Rastan warrior robot, and I think that one is pretty badass. The way it jumped and disappeared and reappeared and attacking the Cybermen. They should bring it back. Because I would love to see more of their Rastan warrior robot. The bit where a Cyberman was dying and you see the white liquid pouring out. When I first watched that bit, I felt pretty sick because I was guessing it's a melted brain tissue, which is so gross. But I saw the comments on YouTube that someone believed that Cyberman was throwing up, and the others believed it was leaking fluid. But either way, it is really sick. So the 3rd Doctor and Sarah Jane grabbed arrows, javelins and wires so they can fly themselves from the cliff to the top of the tower. Well, the balcony. Everyone seems to get a little ill because they're attacked by the mind of Rassilon. So while Sarah Jane is sitting down to rest, the third Doctor takes a look around, and Richard Franklin and Caroline John reappeared for a cameo as Captain Mike Yates and Liz Shaw. Well, the illusion versions of them. They claim that the Doctor's other selves are there. As the third Doctor was planning to get Sarah Jane, Mike and Liz stopped him, so the Doctor realised that they're illusions, so he makes a run for it as they disappeared.
How? You're phantoms! Illusions of the mind!
So the first, second, third Doctor, Sarah Jane, Tegan and Brigadier have reached to the tomb. The first three Doctors has a look at the obelisk, figuring what the words mean. Apparently it says the tomb of Rassilon, where Rassilon lies in eternal sleep. Anyone who's got this for has passed many dangers and shown great courage and determination. Basically it means to lose is to win, and he who wins shall lose. Promises that whoever takes the ring from Rassilon's hand and puts it on shall get the reward he seeks, which is the ring of immortality. So the Master arrived, and I love the bit where the Brigadier is like, "Nice to see you again," and knocks the Master out.
How gratifying to do it 3 times over.
Nice to see you again.
He must have felt good after the amount of times he's been dealing with the Master in John Pertwee's era. Meanwhile, the fifth Doctor takes a look around in the conference room and plays the harp, which opens the wall, and he finds Barusa in the secret room. Apparently it was him who brought everyone on Gallifrey in seeking for the Ring of Rassilon. Originally it was going to be the Master as the main villain, but Terrance Dicks thought it would be too obvious, so they choose Barusa to be the villain, which makes it a surprise. Apparently if Tom Baker was in the Five Doctors, it would have been him who uncovered the truth that it was Barusa all along, which would have been amazing. So while the fifth Doctor confronts Barusa, Barusa mind-controlled the fifth Doctor and takes him into the tomb. Meanwhile, Turlough and Susan watching Cybermen wiring the detonators in the TARDIS, and I thought it was funny when Turlough was like, "Big, isn't it?" So the TARDIS appeared just in time for the explosion and appeared in the tomb. So the previous Doctors helped the fifth Doctor unlock his mind, and we get a cool effect of Richard Matthews as Rassilon, who got Barusa to put on the ring and got himself trapped on a stone wall. It was freaky the way he's like, "Oh, ha, 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 ha." So Rassilon freed the fourth Doctor and Romana. As everyone said goodbye to each other, I love how John Pertwee called Patrick Troughton Scarecrow, which I think that's a gag from Wurzel Gummidge, because that's the character that John Pertwee was known to play as well. So they said goodbye to each other and returned to their places in time. Chancellor Flavia went to see the fifth Doctor, and now he's the president of Gallifrey. So he orders the guards to return Flavia to her work as the deputy. So the fifth Doctor, Tegan and Turlough ran off into the TARDIS, as he has no intention of returning home, which is fair enough, and ending with him saying, "That's how it all started."
After all, that's how it all started.
I love the theme on the end credits. It's a little mix of Delia Derbyshire's original 1960s arrangement and Peter Howell's arrangement. Classic. I really love the Five Doctors. I think it's Peter Davidson's best story. One of the first classic stories I've watched and picked the nostalgia up. What did you guys think of the Five Doctors? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thanks for watching and see you in the next video.